of opinion. I'm gonna try to keep this video here about just the facts surrounding his domestic assault. And I believe he served 6 years, or it might have been he was sentenced to 6 years. I should know how many years because he screamed it as loud as he could in my face over and over again. How many years he had spent in prison over a crime that not only did he not commit, but it was a crime that was committed against him. So here's what happened. I was friends with Fuzzy Bear. That's Christopher Tapp. And of course, he didn't necessarily talk the nicest to his wife, or at all, sometimes. Anyway, his best friend at the time, his name was Matthew. And I'm gonna have to look his name up because I'm not sure exactly what his last name is. So here's what happened, according to Matthew, who is, of course, him and Christopher Tapp let me know what happened. Later on, Tammy Mensher, that's Christopher Tapp's ex-wife, also let me know what happened. According to her, according to Matthew, and according to Christopher, here's what happened. All three of their stories lined up. So, with Christopher Tapp, he was fed up with something, and it doesn't matter what it is. The fact is that Tammy decided to take it upon herself to get extremely physically hostile and violent with Christopher Tapp. She was violent with Christopher Tapp to the point that she had to stop hitting him to take a break to regain her oxygen, and then she went back to hitting him. Now, according to Tammy Mensher and according to Matthew, Christopher Tapp did not even push her off. He made zero attempt. He just took his ass whooping like a man, is what he said. And God, he is a hateful person, and I'm going to explain to you through this why. You spend a few years in prison over a crime that was committed against you. It doesn't feel too good. When you get out of prison and your friends and family are treating you like you're a woman beater, and when the woman who was beating on you gets a hold of you after your father dies and tries to pretend like she's your friend again, like you two can be friends, and then she does the stuff that she did, it's not cool. But what we're going to talk about today is the fact that Christopher Tapp was the victim in this. Now, there's all sorts of drama before that. There's a bunch of drama after that, but the ultimate fact of the matter is, by Tammy Mensher's own words, by Matthew's own words, by Christopher Tapp's own words, Tammy Mensher was the one who was the violent party. According to all three of them, Christopher Tapp had literally never, ever laid a hand on Tammy. Well, in a physically violent way. Obviously, they were married, they were intimate. Obviously, they got a kid together, they were intimate. That's a different argument altogether, and it's not part of this. So, Christopher Tapp and Matthew, they're in his little dinky sports car, and I'm in there with him, and Matthew's telling me the story of about how Tammy Mensher beat the shit out of Christopher Tapp, and Christopher's, of course, driving the vehicle, and he's already heard the story, he was there for it, and he's pissed off about it. He was arrested for an assault he didn't commit. And then, of course, when he went to jail, I didn't know where the fuck he disappeared to. People disappear from Pearl Street all the time. Sometimes they end up in ditches. Sometimes they end up in prisons. Sometimes they end up in jails. Sometimes they end up in a house, married with kids. It's amazing. Anyway, I found out, first of all, that Matthew and Tammy started dating like the day that Christopher Tapp was rearrested. They had apparently been fooling around before that, and Christopher Tapp was pissed off, but he was done with her. He was done with the situation, and at that point, he was also done with Matt. His best friend done stabbed him in the back, and he spent a lot of time in prison. His best friend was trying to be honest, along with Tammy. They didn't think that Tammy would get in any trouble if they came forward and explained the situation and tried to get Christopher Tapp out of the trouble that he was in over a crime he didn't commit. According to both Tammy Mensher, as well as Matthew, she was threatened, harassed, and intimidated by the Boulder Police Department and the Boulder County Sheriff's Department on multiple occasions. She was told to force and sign a false affidavit. Now, this is according to both her and Matthew. Just not a cool thing to do. But then again, Christopher Tapp was, pretty infamous. Mobley, that picture of his x-ray with that K-bar in his back, the situation where Monroe stabbed him in the back, literally, twice with a K-bar, missed his heart both times. True story, I got the x-ray, it's on my Facebook. It also might be the screensaver or whatever for one or two of my videos on YouTube here. I'm not for certain. Anyway, in that situation, Christopher Tapp and Mobley were trying to protect a 13-year-old girl from being physically assaulted and otherwise assaulted by a very, 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 very methed out Monroe. And of course, it was Christopher Tapp who subdued Monroe, kept him from stabbing Mobley again. He was the one who actually prevented Monroe initially from stabbing a 13-year-old girl underneath the library. Monroe didn't spend shit for time in jail. He never went to prison. And when he got out, he was given another K-bar. Wouldn't you know it? He was given another knife by none other than Keith Steinman himself. Keith Steinman hates Monkey. He hates Fuzzy. Monkey is Michael Pennington. Fuzzy is, of course, Christopher Tapp. He hated Mobley. It's Stephen McMillian. These guys were all friends. They were all the guys who actually kept Boulder clean, who tried their best to keep their hometown beautiful. For this place, this was the only home that they'd ever known. This is the only place that had ever been an actual home to them, is Boulder, Colorado. Some of them were Boulder locals, born and raised. They did a lot to make the place a better place for everyone. Keith Steinman, him giving Monroe a knife that, first of all, is far too large to be legal. And the cops allowing Monroe to brandish this knife for months and months and months and months. Way oversized. Talking to him and even laughing with Monroe while Monroe was pulling out his knife and showing it off to the cops and talking about it. Talking about Mobley, of course. And of course, every time he did it, the cops wanted to make a big show of it. Well, that resulted in Monroe, since of course he's making the cops laugh, made the homeless people paranoid. And of course, what did they do? Well, I've not seen or heard from Monroe in years. They said they were going to take him up the mountain with a bottle. Happens frequently. With Christopher Tapp and him being charged with physically assaulting Tammy Menscher, even with her out of her own mouth and in her own messages admitting that she was threatened, harassed, and intimidated by the Boulder Police Department into false reporting. Even with that, doesn't make any difference, right? No, it absolutely does make a difference. Now, sure, they won't arrest Tammy Menscher. They won't arrest her on charges, but they can clear his name. And it's unfortunate for Christopher Tapp that despite the fact that he was the one assaulted, his name was never cleared, and he has to endure abuse to this day as a result of it. He has to endure the hatred and malice of people who think that he's a woman beater when he absolutely is not. He's got no problems hitting a man, but according to him, he was raised right. You never hit a woman. God, she did beat the fuck out of him. I mean, she definitely left him significantly marked the fuck up. You knew he'd been hit a lot. Now, I guess the whole thing that they were trying to charge him on is that he said that she was beating the fuck out of him and that he's not sure if he pushed her off or not. He thinks she just got up, was tired, and was finished, but he wasn't sure if he had pushed her or not. And that's, I guess, according to Tammy, what they used to try to pretend that he had assaulted her. And according to Tammy, he never pushed her. She got fucking physically exhausted. She realized that she literally could not lift her arms again to hit him, and she allowed herself to lay backwards and to fucking rest. I mean, I don't know if any of y'all ever been in a fight, but it is painful and it takes a lot energetically out of you. It'll make your muscles cramp up like you wouldn't believe. It sucks. And when you do it for as long as she did, and it's unchecked, like Christopher Tapp is literally laying on the carpet of their, what do you call that? Their mobile home thing and trailer park, you know. Yes, there are trailer parks in Boulder, Colorado. There's 2 of them. Anyway, you know, he's stuck there. He says that he's stuck on the floor and leaning against the couch, and she's on top of him and fucking beating him in the face and beating him in the chest, and he's putting his arms up, you know. He's not just straight up taking the blows straight to his head. He's a pretty experienced fighter, and he does know what he's doing. He's effective at what he does because he does have good reflexes. He's getting older now, but he's a hell of a lot better fighter than I am. That's for goddamn sure. I probably couldn't have beat him on my best day. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm a lucky fighter, but he has enough experience from the way he grew up. He knows not to aim for my nose. He knows that my body's reaction is going to be to flinch and that he's going to break his fist on my forehead. So if he aims for my mouth, then when I flinch, he'll hit me in the nose. Experience. There's all these concepts that you guys have about how things work and what you're going to do. And then there's the reality of it is that people don't just go along with what you want them to do. They don't just walk into what you want to believe that they should do. Reality is a lot different. In reality, Tammy Menscher should have been on her way to jail or prison, of course. If it's illegal for Christopher Tapp to not push her off of him, I mean, that ended up being the case. The situation was that he had literally not pushed her off of him. According to her, he did not push her off of him. According to Matt, she did not push her, or he did not push her off of him. At no point in time did he do anything other than cover up and say, "Stop. Knock it off. What the fuck are you doing?" Matt said he was trying to say something, trying to tell Tammy to stop, but he couldn't open his mouth. I'm like, she was telling me that she was screaming at him at the top of her lungs the whole time she's hitting him. You know, it's no wonder the Boulder Police Department was called. I mean, that is a situation where you would call the cops. It was a very loud situation, and someone was obviously being beaten on, and there was a woman screaming. So why did they arrest the victim? Why did they arrest Christopher Tapp? Why was Christopher Tapp literally sent to prison over a crime that was not committed? Now, I know the drama since, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with what he's going through or what he's put others through. I don't agree with either one. At the same time, the stuff that he's pissed off over is over, well, a situation where he was absolutely 100% the victim. His former friends either treat him like he's a woman beater or they know the truth, and instead of making fun of him for being a woman beater, they know the truth, so they make fun of him for what? For getting beaten up by a girl. Christopher Tapp could literally not win in that situation no matter what. And he lost a lot of friends over it, and he took a lot of abuse over it, and he continues to take abuse over it. It's not something that you're allowed to let go, and with him especially, having a kid with the woman makes it very complicated, makes it so that he's pretty well stuck with her in his life for some reason or another at every point in time. With Natalie Bollinger's death, it's actually, well, it's worse than having a kid with somebody like that, because Natalie Bollinger is dead. I'll never be allowed to show evidence, ever, because I don't have the ability to defend myself or take care of myself, let alone do all of these things that are required to stop the abuse, to turn in these predators, to be taken seriously. Christopher Tapp asked me why I never spoke up. I told him I did as soon as I knew. I even posted it up on my Facebook. This is before I had YouTube. I had a YouTube channel before Natalie was killed, you know, just the standard one where you don't have the ability to make videos. You're just able to watch videos, but it logs in automatically with your Google account. But it took Jerry Sparks teaching me how to make and utilize the YouTube so that I could make videos and speak out this way. So big round of applause to Jerry Sparks. Anyway, Christopher Tapp, regardless of his rights or wrongs, his perfections or imperfections, I don't give a shit about that. The fact is, this story is about what should have been his justice. A man should never have to live with a label like that, the label of a woman beater, when he didn't. Yes, he assaulted me. Absolutely. At the same time, I'm allowed to forgive him. He said he was sorry for it, well, at the time. After the fact, though, he wanted to deny it had ever even happened. So, of course, forgiveness or not, I got to make sure that the truth is known, and that's not something I ever wanted to do about those situations. With him, the reason that he couldn't shut up and he couldn't pay any attention whatsoever to the fact that I needed help. I needed help then. He just wanted to go off and scream at the top of his lungs about what a cunt Tammy Menscher is. And push me and shove me and tell me I'm ungrateful and drink more Jameson and get more drunk and tell me to crawl up onto the top bunk, and I can't literally get onto the top bunk, and I have to tell him repeatedly because he's drunk on Jameson. There's a woman named Kelly Wilmoth. She was the cousin of Kim Jepsen, who's in some of my stories, and also Michael Jepsen, and Brandon Jepsen, and Jason Jepsen, and of course Ron and Terry Jepsen. And she was telling me she was gonna possibly look at evidence. She was trying to talk to me, but Christopher Tapp, he wanted to keep on tapping me and touching me and demanding my attention and making facial movements where he wants to talk. He absolutely has to talk, and he's so drunk on Jameson. And this is important. Like, this is somebody that I know. I know Kelly. I know her in person. So when this is, of course, between when Natalie Bollinger's killer was found, and you know what? We're not going to get into this. We're not going to get into that part, because that part, the facts of the matter are, and this is the part that we need to pay attention to. Instead of making the excuse of how he reacted afterwards is an excuse for beating on him, no, it's absolutely not. It's not okay. It's not. He never deserved that. He still doesn't deserve that. He doesn't deserve the reputation, the way that he's treated, or the conditions that he's forced to live in, which includes, whether he admits it or not, having to depend on another one of his, well, at the time, ex-girlfriend. They might be going out again. They might not be. I don't know. What I do know is that when I not only told the truth, but I recorded him saying these things and admitting to these things. But he didn't like that. And he wanted to be extremely hateful. And that was extremely stressful for me. That was while I was in Virginia. Bristol, Virginia, in 2019, I believe. With Brett Roloff, who said that he was going to help me to turn this stuff in, but instead he was too busy because he was strung out on methamphetamines. I got him on video rooting through his own fecal matter, trying to find a bag of meth, while me and his girlfriend are worried sick that he's overdosing. Whether I even like Christopher Tapp anymore is debatable. Whether I ever liked him, absolutely I did. Whether or not I agree with him or his antics or his anger doesn't matter. The fact is, he did not beat on Tammy Menscher. He was the one beaten, and he did not deserve any amount of time in prison. It is not okay for Boulder Police Department and Boulder County Sheriff's Department to threaten, harass, and intimidate people in the way that they did. But then again, Fuzzy was made homeless because of the situation. And as a result, these guys may not be any good whatsoever at actually fucking investigating a goddamn thing. But they're damn good at framing homeless people. Good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, and no victim left behind.